What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They call us channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Yes, I'm from New York City.
Yeah. And
Right.
you were there, were you there when 9/11 happened?
I was in the area, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that on top of many life changes that you were going through around that time.
Yes.
Because when did you leave New York?
Well, I left after I was divorced, my mother died, and 9/11 happened. So many things happened. I stayed around for about a year, and then I went to the country. I really wanted to go be in nature, and I moved to Vermont for a while. Mainly because there was so much fear in the air that I just didn't want to be in the thick of it. I was living at the time, I was living in New Jersey, and not far from the Statue of Liberty, where I lived within a radius of maybe 10 or 15 miles for much of my life.
Oh, so because I guess in New Jersey, some parts of it you would be able to obviously see the Statue of Liberty, wouldn't you? Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're just across the water from New York. Yeah. So was you doing much artwork back then at that time period?
Yeah, I had a studio gallery in Montclair, and it was a very busy time for me, actually. The New York Times had picked up my work. It was just, there was a lot going on, and my divorce was happening. There was so much going on. All I wanted to do was go in the country and just be away from everything.
Okay, but at that time, when the New York Times picked you up, you weren't doing the sort of energetic work that you're doing now, was you? That you wasn't, flowers weren't part of your work, and
they were. They actually were, and that was what the energy of that whole dive into what I really, really knew I was supposed to be doing was what dismantled my marriage so I began to paint, and these large paintings came out of flowers, and it just
we'll get to that pin. So that there was a pinnacle point of what caused the relationship to change and to die off, in a sense. And it was, but they weren't just it wasn't like, as we say, it wasn't just the relationship. It was 9/11, Mum's passing. There was a number of things that got you in. So do you think sometimes that life pushes us, if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, life has a way of pushing us in the direction as well?
Yeah, it's a necessity, because otherwise we would get sick. A lot of people get sick because they don't know, and that's not their fault or anything like that. It's just that I could sense that I was becoming well, so I started doing my work, and as a result, when you're running that kind of energy, the things that are not serving you will fall away.
So you had many of your own dark nights of the soul, in a sense. You've been tested enough, right?
I have, yeah, I've been through a lot, and it's usually, I'm just always pointed back to what I'm supposed to be doing.
If you were to sum up, like, just a couple of sentences of what you do, how would you sum that up, do you think?
Oh, well, what just came to my mind is I'm very happy being myself. I'm very comfortable being myself. That might sound absolutely like, maybe even, I don't mean to be disrespectful to your question. It's like, because what I think everybody should be happy doing is being themselves. So if you want me to answer kind of like more like,
being yourself is the energetic work that you're doing, which we're going to get into, is the channeled artwork.
It's about being in your.
Most of us are scared shitless of that.
I know, and that's part of my mission, is to just kind of bolster up the immune system of those who think that they can't be. You're born to be that way. You're born to be.
No matter what we want to do or be ourselves, when we cross over, when we've passed over, not many people are going to care once we're not here anymore. It's really, did we live our lives the best way we can for ourselves and be ourselves? And what legacy did we live from, coming from that space, maybe?
I'm very fortunate that, in a way, that I wasn't indoctrinated into certain types of thinking. I kind of I did come in with a certain degree of like just understanding spirituality from like a very internal place. Because I've been in it for so many lifetimes, I remember it. It doesn't have to be empirical or even directed by a code of human ethics. It's like it's kind of more in me. So I just don't. What I want to say is, people have to be in their knowing. You have to understand what the knowing is, not what you've been trained to do. There's a big difference between what you've been trained to do. I mean, I was shown how to, in school, do. I didn't need anybody to teach me how to do things. Really, what people have to learn is how they know what they know, and what they can learn some technical skills, and all that's very important to some degree. But it's your knowing. It's your internal, real high knowing that we're wanting to invite into our being. And you know, when we come from that place, we can't really do wrong. And it's not about right and wrong. It's not about, it's a dance. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful divine matrix when you open your eyes to it. And then when you do, you notice what's out of place. And nobody would ever pay attention to what's false, what's a lie. We're not talking about subjective truth here. We're talking about, you know, more absolute kinds of truths. What fuels the human body, what fuels the true divine human mind is what's really at a high level coming down and becoming part of our own personal matrix, part of what we're able to bring in. And like there's so many amazing like guests that you have, you know, everybody's doing it in a different flavor, a different prismatic, you know, a different angle of the prism. I'm amazed and really so happy to see that what I used to search for in terms of metaphysics is now very present everywhere. And so...
Well, thank you for that answer. I think what I'm going to do now, let's steer to that moment, right, where everything sort of changed for you as well. So I think it was that moment of you're creating some, you just were inspired to, you know, bring out some huge canvases and to start, you know, drawing on them, or, well, you know, creating this artwork that you've been doing ever since. So I'll let you just, you know, describe that, that situation.
I've been an artist since before I was born. I'm pretty awake. I have past life memory and expanded senses, which to me always seemed very normal. It's very normal to me. So I never really thought about it too much. I am an artist. I have been an artist since before I could talk. My parents were very supportive of my creative nature. They didn't stop me from talking to my imaginary friends or the flowers in our backyard. The beings that came with the flowers in the backyard. So I just am kind of naturally a channel. It's how I was born. I never thought about it. I'm so glad that so many people are coming out and speaking about what this is, and there are many aspects to it. That's, you can ask me questions, of course, and I have a lot to say on the subject, and I'm happy to share what I know and my work, which some of it is behind me, and of course on my website. I came to do flowers pretty much exclusively now, though I've done everything, and I've been in the arts, like I said, since before I could talk. But flowers really called me. They always have. And at a certain point in my education, I had to re-educate myself and forget everything that I'd learned. And I was in, at that time, this is years ago, a dark night of the soul. And I've been through a number of awakenings in this manner. And I asked, what should I be focusing on? Where would I like to put my attention? What would be best for me? And the place I landed were flowers and nature. And since I had a history and have a history of connection with with nature and the nature spirits, that was where I placed my attention and began the body of work that you'll see on my website, which is called Exquisite Paintings on the Nature of Flowers. So it's really not about painting flowers. It's about becoming one with them and channeling their wisdom. And there's a tremendous amount of wisdom, learning and healing in them as fractaline structures, and it's really very vast. So, and now in phase 2 of Exquisite Paintings on the Nature of Flowers. And it just continues to expand and grow, and I love it. I love doing it. So it is, for me, it's definitely channeling. I've done different types of channeling. This, when I'm painting, it's kind of like a direct link up with the physical. One of the best ways that I've found for self-healing and for sharing with the world is creativity, and it's where the rubber meets the road. I can actually create physical things that have the vibration of the things that I'm getting downloaded with. So then they become dimensional doorways, basically, and people can see them however they want. They can see them, feel them. You might be feeling them now, I don't know. And this is my gift, and I've been shown that this is what I'm supposed to do, and I've been doing it for many years.
So it's mainly been flowers that you've been painting then. Have you ever sort of brought anything else through in your paintings?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've painted everything. I could grab something. I've painted everything you could imagine, every kind of subject matter. People, I'm very skilled. I can paint anything.
Yeah.
But this is,
and when did the flowers start? What year was that then, that the flowers started to...
Well, my connection with them started as a baby, as a child. So, but then when I began painting I was always painting, and I always painted, the flowers were always present, but I really began in earnest to paint the flowers in this manner in the mid-1990s, approximately. That was the beginning.
Okay, why do you think particular?
Oh, well, that was, I was married at the time, and there were a lot of things going on in my life, and it was time for a change, and I was having a difficult time really making that change. So what I did was I had very clear guidance of what I had to do, and I was becoming ill, actually. And so I knew that if I continued on the path that I was going on, that it would not be good for me. So what I did was I stretched two really large canvases, and so I stretched these two very, very large canvases and started painting giant roses, and just all this energy was coming through me, and it pretty much destabilized my marriage. It wasn't that I was doing anything outwardly. The energy of it just took it apart. Because when I'm really doing, when anybody's really doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're running energy. And so when you're aligned, it just pushes everything that's not in your best interest anymore out. So that started me on a road of healing my body and my relationship to myself, and I went forward not too long afterwards into a divorce, and it just goes from there, like that.
Interesting. So, what has been the response from these pictures then?
Well, people, it's really interesting to watch. I never really expected you don't know what anybody's response is going to be to anything. But when people started seeing them, I had a studio gallery where I was living at the time in a pretty public place. And so people would come and visit. People would come by appointment. But when they came in, they'd hear about me, and I had, I'd been written about in the New York Times and in the local newspapers and things like that. So people would come and visit me. Sometimes they'd come in and they'd smell roses, or they would cry, and they would just have an opening experience. And so that was really nice. And I just kept on going. And so I have, collectors all over the world. People just find you when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that's so true. When you're sort of pushed into that direction, sometimes, aren't you, to do what you're supposed to be doing, and sometimes for some people, though, and for myself even, that doing what you're supposed to be doing, you want it to be one thing sometimes, but you don't always know which one to choose, and you tend to do all of them. Maybe you can, or maybe you shouldn't be. I haven't got to that understanding yet. I don't know.
Depends on your nature, I think. If you have the ability to do a lot of different things and it works for you, that's great. And if you have to be very unifocused, that's great. I do a lot of different things. They're all related. I wondered how they were related because my guides would bring me new projects and things to do. But I have that ability to do a lot of different things. So yeah.
So it's all under art, in a sense. It's all under creativity, or was it the? I'm guessing it was still the flowers. Have the flowers been the main thing since 1999? Is that it, or is there other things going on?
It was going on from like 1995, I think. I mean, it's always been going on. And what would happen? What it is really flowers. They have this flowers and plants. They really help us just connect with the divine feminine on Earth, and how it grows. I mean, it's like they carry the highest vibration in physical form. That it always blows me away to just breathe in a rose. It makes me very, very high. Basically, it brings me up. I see the energy of the flowers as what people will call sacred geometry or fractals, and so I design with using fractals. I just love beauty. Beauty is healing. Whatever, I mean, it's subjective, but when you get outside of what is stylish, it's beauty. Beauty's timeless. It's just timeless. So I explore it and I enjoy it. And these things happen while I'm in the process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So when you're creating these amazing flowers on the blank canvases, which I would suggest anyone to go check out your website. Your website is, for those listening to the podcast version,
it's www.leslie, Leslie, Montana, Montana.com. And yes, that is my real name. I never changed it.
Yeah, Leslie Montana. Yeah, it's a great name. Yeah, what's the Montana part mean?
It's mountain. It just means mountain. My first name actually means like small field, and Montana is mountain. So that's
okay. That's interesting. Yeah. So, I would recommend anybody check out the website, because obviously there's a gallery on the website and there's some beautiful images that you've created. And all these images that you create, you feel that you channel them, and you feel that you're not, looking at a flower, are you? For example, these are all brought through.
Yeah, well, everything anybody does is, in my opinion. And yeah, this is, it's not about painting a flower. It's, but yeah, so I guess I can answer your question as that, yes, they're channeled. I couldn't really do it any other way.
Well, have you sort of studied any sort of channel material before, you knew you were channeling them? And what is channeling to you, would you say, in this sense?
That's a great question. So, sure, I've listened to many contemporary channels, and they're wonderful. I was channeling probably before I discovered anybody else's work. I'm sure I was channeling before I knew anybody else's work. And what is it? It's like, how can we define all these different things? There are different names. But how would I define it? Is I'm connect. In this case, with the painting, I'm connecting with the source within the flower. My source is connecting to their source, and there's a co-creation going on. I'm having a conversation. They're having a conversation with me. It's not words, although words can be fitting sometimes. It's I'm getting a download from them to help bring it through and ground it in the physical world for myself. And then it happens that these things, I'm not just sitting in meditation, it happens that these things are now made manifest. And so that can be a gift to other people, even if they don't see it, because it's energy being brought to the planet.
Okay, so when so people can actually have sessions with you, can't they, as well? Where just talk us through how the sessions work in connection with what you do as well.
Well, I do several things. I do readings. I've done them for years. I actually just used to do them, and then friends were telling me, you're good at this. Why don't you just offer this? And it's not even really visible on my website. So if anybody would like to know more about that, they can just reach out to me, and I will send them appropriate links. And so I do, like I can be commissioned to do artwork for people based on this kind of thing, where I will bring through the flowers, plants, whatever it is, I want to call it a dreamscape of what the world of nature wants to say to you, through you. I actually asked about you yesterday, what would be your flower? And I got an orchid. I got an orchid that had a ruby color, red and white. And they always come through with something. And then the process is then just bringing it through. You don't have to be involved. And the devas, or the nature spirits, it's a high spirit. It's like God in nature is what I call it. It's will come through and bring to you what you need through my paintbrush, and it's usually very healing for people, and they really love it. So.
Well, what's the process? Let me ask that. So, okay, so I come to you, and why am I coming to you? Let me ask you that. Do you think maybe?
Okay, so you might see my work and it might speak to you. This is usually how it happens. People just see the work and then they're drawn to it, and then they look on my website or they see my work someplace, and they might contact me and say, I really would love to. This is typically what happens: is I love this piece. Do you have something, like, I love these roses. Do you have white roses? I just love this, or something like that might start a conversation. The conversation begins, and then something grows out of that. Somebody who's very spiritual might just come to this. They might just see what I do, and they'd be like, oh my God, I know there's a flower in there for me. There's something in there for me. What is it? And then I'll have a conversation with somebody. It's like that. And that's bringing through a painting. For a reading, it's more of like, it's like an hour's worth of conversation with me. They can ask me questions and I channel information. I've been a Reiki master for many years, and I'm just, I've studied various forms of healing. It's kind of my nature. I know about it. I came in with a knowing about it. So it's just part of life, when you're an old soul. So does that help you understand more? Do you want to ask me something else?
So you're saying that I can come, if I had a session with you, then that's going to be, what are you drawing at the time, or is this just between me and you?
If we're having a session, like a reading kind of thing, where you're looking for information or wisdom and you feel drawn to speak to me, there's no art involved in that. It's not.
Okay, so you're bringing through some amazing paintings that obviously are on your website, and we've just touched upon just some of the artwork that you've done, which is really beautiful artwork. But you also do and this has been in the background for you for some time right now, but you do one-on-one readings, and I think they're about an hour long each. So this is something, from what you've told me, is has been more word of mouth for people, but it's something that you felt that you could do. So when you give a reading to someone, then how is that working? What are you connecting with, do you think, and what do people come to you for?
Well, people will be drawn to the reader that's for them. And so I was urged to put myself out there a little bit, a lot actually. And so I offer to people when they come to me to just a level of comfort. I call in my guides, I call in their guides, I call in all of heaven and earth that is most ascended. Anything that could help them to clarify, often help them to clarify their own questions. And that's one of the biggest part of a reading, and give them guidance. It's not coming from my personality. It's definitely not coming from my personality. And it's usually very helpful. So like I said, I was doing this for like a long time, and I had friends who just said to me, you really should offer this, more.
Where do you think that's coming from then when you give it? I mean, how does that actually work? Could you break that down at all?
Sure. Well, as a result of what I do as a painter, I'm always looking deeply into things and looking for the truth and the beauty. And it's all the same. Though it looks like, and I do a lot of things, it's all pretty much the same. When you start to open your third eye this way, you just get truth. I'm not saying that I have absolute truth, but I have helpful information, and I'm always looking for the truth, and it's exponential. You just can keep going. And when you witness somebody and they're in your presence, even when somebody's on the phone with you, they're in your presence, it helps fill in their field. It helps bring them what they need. And it's just pretty much like that.
Do you think you go into the same space when you have these readings that you go to when you create your amazing artwork as well? Do you think it's the same energy that you're connecting to?
It's very similar, but it's totally focused on that person. It's focused on them and what it is that they are in most need of, and that's so that there's a difference there.
Okay. And you also offer teachings as well. You do teaching. What
Yes.
is that type of teaching that you do?
Well, people usually come to me because they want to make art, but some of my best students are engineers and scientists, nurses, doctors. They're not artists. They just really feel drawn to either my work or art, and just being able to become facile at something like what I do. So when I teach, I'm really teaching them how to open their third eye, and I take them in sort of like around the back way. And it's very exciting, and it's a lot of work, but it's exciting for them, and all kinds of things begin to open in the lives of my students. So it's really spiritual more than anything. It's not about how to draw a flower or how to draw that. People could go elsewhere for that. And I have plenty of experience with that. I can point them in directions that they need to go. But when they come to me, it opens up a level of creativity and understanding that's very different. So when I'm teaching, it's very different. So I encourage people who think they can't draw, it's to come and explore with me, because it's fun. I'm channeling the whole time. And it's where the rubber meets the road. You really start to build on your ability to create in this world when you create something physical. I hope that's helpful.
When you channel, as you say there, whether it's a reading or whether, you're creating, whether you're teaching or creating products, how do you switch into that sort of space?
It's normal for me. It's like, people talk about altered states. Really, I believe for all of us, the altered state is like the real state of being. It's not the state that we're in when we're in every day and high beta and like running around. So when I'm talking to like a group of students, I've got the group in my field, in my energy field. So I'm talking to all of their unspoken questions, their worries, their concerns. It's often really funny. And I don't tell them this ahead of time. I mean, the right people are drawn to me, so they're usually just open to it. And if they're not, they go elsewhere. But yeah, channeling is a normal state for everybody. I think we just haven't been in our culture, in our society, and in our time really encouraged to do that. Now and because of people like you, it's like, wow, okay, we're all here. We're a community. This is where it's at.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it doesn't have to be a separate voice or however it may come through. It could be what you're doing here, which is almost like I've said this in previous shows, where it's almost like it's a funnel and you're opening up that greater part of yourself to allow something greater to come in, maybe more of your true self, your soul come through.
Yeah, it's hard for me to separate it out and name the different components, because for me, it's just kind of, I have brought in, okay, so I have done the kind of channeling where you bring in something that's much larger and it's a different kind of channeling. It's when something, there's different kinds, there's so many different ways to do this. So I brought in the nature spirits or the oversoul of certain nature spirits and literally channeled that to groups of people. So I can do that too. But when I'm teaching, I'm helping people learn how to navigate in the physical world in certain ways with certain tools. It's not about, I know this sounds crazy, but it's not about art. It's not about painting the picture, but it's the end product. And again, it's like where the rubber meets the road. You're creating something. Look around, like everything got created in this manner, in different times, in different ways. Everything is here as a result of coalesced energy that has come into form. When you start to practice actually doing that yourself, you begin to get in touch with the aspects of yourself that are the creator. And then you begin to make choices, and you begin to see. So you're using all your energy centers to blend and to create.
Yeah, so when you're sort of putting the pen to the empty canvas, or the brush to the empty canvas, should I say, it never sort of puts you off that there's an empty canvas there. You just let it come through whatever's going to be.
Oh, definitely. It's empty canvas can scare people, but it is like the most exciting thing. What I discovered in the process over the years, and this is nothing new to the metaphysicians out there, when you're seeing, it's not a passive thing. Sight is not passive. It's creative. It's creative. I'm not talking about like just, imagining the small things in life or even the big things in life. You're creating. So when I'm creating, I'm actually projecting out of my third eye. I'm receiving. It's complex, the meridian system and how it connects to the spiritual energies is very complex. So as those energies are coming in, they're coming through me. I have a long history of this in many lifetimes of being able to create certain kinds of things, both in the energy fields of my world and people and things, as well as what we now call artwork. Artwork was always a sacred creation. In other times, all the kinds of statues and relics, everything is like, this falls under the same exact category, but it's different because in our time, we have this thing called art. There's never something called art. What is art? I never thought of myself as, these are sacred objects, basically. And so any object that carries a vibration, if it's super clear and super coherent, it will speak to people. It's that way. So if you just dip a toe in and start to recognize this and create your own things, if you want to, you begin to understand this about everything. That means everything in your space is alive. Everything in your environment is alive.
Yeah, when I looked at your website as well, there was mention on there of some of the original healers of this planet, or some people who were originally into healing were also artists, or art was something they did. You might have to just sort of fill in the blanks there.
Well, I think that on Earth we have a very long history of existence as different types of beings and consciousness in various ways, traversing many bandwidths of energy. So cave paintings in Lascaux were not like they weren't like they weren't like decorating the cave walls. These were people who were interacting with the spirits of the animals and creating um, nourishment for their communities and reciprocity to the world of the animal kingdom. So most indigenous cultures today still are wired more naturally to communicate on different bandwidths. So it's normal to have what we call psychic interaction. It's like, it is normal, it's totally normal. And so it's the shamans of old and even now are working with these same energies. I'm working with the energies of plants that have all kinds of nourishment for people beyond the physical, that inform the physical. So yeah, I would say, if I had to say it in a sentence, that yeah, all what we call healers and seers and shamans and magicians and whatever you want to call it, science and art or creation, they understood what creation was. And it is healing because it connects us to the greater parts of who we are. And it uses, they use their brain, literally, and I do to some extent also, to communicate in ways that are outside what we call the norm, that is probably inside the norm for many people who are your viewers,
Now, there's also products that you do as well. That's another
Yes.
thing that you've started, because there's a lot of side things that you've kind of done on the peripheral, whilst the main focus was on the paintings that you've produced. And yeah, so products. So what sort of products do you do as well? And when did that start to become a thing for people?
Well, about 5 years or so ago, I was going through some inner turmoil, and I kind of stumbled on some beautiful fractals, images of fractals, and I thought, wow, I love fabric. I've always loved fabric. I just love to play with it, and what I did was I started designing fractals. The colors were so amazing, and the way that they moved relaxed my mind. It really was amazing what it did to me. I was dreaming about them. So I decided to put them on fabrics and to make these beautiful things, one of which I'm wearing right now. These are very pretty, beautiful, and they began to speak to me. So I just went with it, and out of this exploration came this whole line of shawls and scarves and different things. I just do things because it's beautiful, and I love to. And I they sell in different retail outlets and things, and people can order them from my site. I just love making things. They're beautiful.
Yes, yeah, I can tell that, absolutely. And as with the paintings, do you think that when people order something, when it comes to what, like, as what you're wearing right now, maybe,
Yeah.
would you do you sometimes make it for them as a as an energy exchange, in the sense of for they're ordering it because they want something that's unique to them, or is it these products are already sort of pre-done in a sense?
No, I really don't like mass manufacture things. I have a hand in everything that gets created, and they are like, I pray over them. So they're not, it's matter is, Mother Earth, matter is mother, matter is to be respected. So these things they feel good. A lot of healers buy them. They have coherent energy. They're wonderful. And I just, everything that comes from my workshop is going to feel good because I pray over it to Reiki it and bring it up to vibration, to coherency.
I see. I was going to kind of just add that on there. So just like with the amazing pictures that you create, there's an energy that's sort of within those pictures as much as there is within anything you do, I suppose. It's your energy that or this channeled energy that you're bringing through.
Yes, and it's interesting. I just realized I should say this, is that it's called, the branding is Frequency Matters. It's Leslie Montana. But the branding is Frequency Matters. I had this way long time ago, before any of the other matters were up, because it's frequency that matters. So that's the branding, and you can see that on my website. It's that's what I value about it. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. So where's the artwork stand right now? Where are you with the flowers? Has that sort of project, decades worth of project, sort of come to an end, or is that something you're still doing?
It's like the most powerful thing I do is the paintings. So like I do these paintings, and I have to do them because it's really, it has to come through me. If I didn't, I wouldn't. I have to do that,
So
okay?
are you constantly bringing out new paintings, or do people order these paintings with their, with a sort of energy exchange from them? So when they've ordered it, you're doing something that's personal for them? Or
you know how when somebody channels like Seth material, or even Abraham, or anybody, it's like the people, it's like it's happening, and people who it's for are coming. So like these paintings come into being. This belongs to somebody. I don't know yet. This one. So it's made for the people who are calling it in through. It just comes through me because I'm the open channel. It comes through other people too, but this is how it comes through me. And so these paintings, unless I'm specifically commissioned, which, of course happens also, and you're saying, I love your work and I would like you to bring through something for me. And then I will go specifically to my guides and their guides and bring through a specific flower and energies for them. I hope that helps make it a little bit clearer. So, good. And but otherwise, yeah, I'm just in like there's a painting on my site called Holy Fire, and another painting that came through at the same time, which is this one actually. And those paintings, it was very clear, like around the solstice, the winter solstice this year, it's 2021 now, that those paintings were knocking on my door. They were ready to come through. They had a specific energy. So the energy of Holy Fire, which is a peony, it's on my website right now, was powerful, and it came through like. I had to steady myself to allow it to come through. And it was clearly, the person who it came through for came forward very quickly. Anyway, that painting it's got an energy about burning off the dross of the winter of 2020 to 2021 through all of the things that have been happening. All the fears and all of everything. So it's Holy Fire was the name my guides gave me. I was like, really? Okay. Yeah. They tend to have the people have said they have 0 point energy in them. They can sense the 0 point energy in them. People say all kinds of things, and they experience things that are beyond words. So that's how that works.
Yeah, and I guess I've not got you to say, okay, what is it that you feel you channel? But, if there was an energy that you could maybe try to point it towards, have you ever sort of considered that? What when you bring, when you open yourself up, what do you think you're bringing through?
No, it's the divine. It's how it comes through me, and it's the divine in nature. But it's divine and how it comes through nature.
How could you explain the divine to someone if that's the first time they've ever heard that
word? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
I can speak, and I know you're asking a variety of questions for your audience, but that's why I paint, because it's an energy that more than I could talk about it, and I do write about it on my website to some extent. Yeah, I have hard to pin it down in words.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, you're talking about something that we will only really get to experience or have experienced before, but only when this particular experience of the human experience is over. And I don't think we're supposed to know everything, are we?
There's a really big difference between knowing and having information. The state of knowing is where I'm most comfortable. And that doesn't mean I know it all. That's not the kind of knowing I'm talking about. It's a state of knowing. So you can, and information will come through in the channel. I mean, like the name of the painting and different things that are going to be useful to people. But right now we're in a transition in humanity. We're just at the beginning of a place where we're going to our interior. We're learning more about all of the things that you and I are talking about and the things that you bring forward in your wonderful show. Like the painting over here, this one, is about think about, even if it's just kind of literal, there's red and white and a yellow center. Okay, it's about the integration of spirit and matter, red and white. It's about the integration of spirit and matter. And that is, when high spirit and matter come in, we're much more likely to be receptive to higher love. We feel more safe. We feel more comfortable. I don't come to this work in, I've noticed a lot of people who come to this work, and even a lot of people who are on your show, they've come from very highly structured backgrounds where they have been business people, high power, like really like will. They have a great deal of will in their background. And then something comes to break it. That's a blessing because they have all this structure, and then they go on the journey of understanding why they got sick, what happened, and what their message is. And their message is often to people who are similar to them and their journey. I've been in a different way. Most artists are like a little more naturally in free flow. And it's natural and normal, I will say, maybe erroneously, I'm not sure, that artists have been the crazy ones, the wild ones. They're the ones who are exploring all this stuff for as long as art has been named art. Think about the Impressionist era. Think about what went on in Europe. The arts reflected the times and broke apart the stagnant bourgeois society in France. Like look at the Impressionists. That was the beginning of the age of light, and they were wonderful in the ways that they expressed it. They were also wild people. I'm not that wild, but like I'm wild on the inside. This is how I express it. And art has lost in general, I think in many ways, it has lost its meaning because it's become more of an illustration and a commodity for the way that businesses put it forward to sell it. And what I'm doing is a little bit different. I'm not opposed to selling my work or any of the business aspects. I'm very, very well versed in that, and that's a big part. That's how I support myself, and it's very, very important to do that. But to me, it's the people who are drawn to the work are the people who are drawn to the work. I don't have to define it unless they ask me a question. And I'm happy to answer. I'm not trying to be abstract or.
Oh no, you're not. No, this is I don't do many interviews with the channeling side where it's to do with art. So when you reached out, I straight away, without even thinking, just said yes. right? Because you know it's not that many want to talk about it, right?
I see that.
Yeah,
That's why I want to.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, if it's music, for example, you know, there's more that will, you know, say, well, yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, look how many artists say that, you know, it just came through me. I just
Hmm.
downloaded that song, you know, it would just flowed. Do you think when people with gifts, as you've got, and with you know, there are some artists in all sorts of different ways out there, right? But when they say, well, you know, I can't, I would love to do this, but it's never going to support me, and I need to get a, you know, I need to be responsible and get a what's classed as a you know, a job that's looked upon as you know, society would say, you know, that's good what you've done.
Mm. I've never, yeah, I come in with a mission that really to help restore art and artists who I don't understand what happened to everybody. But if you think about it, the media has dumbed down our third eye a to quite a bit. So art is no, for I don't know how long, it hasn't really, music, people understand music, you know, they get that. I'm with you on that. I see that also. I hear music. I mean, I hear music, you know, like astrally. Uh, and it's easier for people to get. People are not as, and I hope as a result of this interview that more people come forward in this way. I don't want to like literally paint pictures of Merkabas and things like that because they exist in nature. They're all around us. It's the philosopher's stone, you know what I mean? It's hidden in plain sight. It's all around us. I'm a mystic. I'm a natural mystic. So for me, art, I went to art school and I practically had a nervous breakdown by the time I graduated from school because I thought I kind of knew what I was doing until I went to school. And then I got taught all these things that it was for a reason so that I understood where everybody else was getting bound up, basically, being told what to see. You can't be told what to see. You can only open a door for somebody. I mean, even in meditation, if you have a guru or something, they can help you open the doors, but you really have to take the leap of faith and live your own life. Otherwise, you're not seeing anybody, you know, you're not seeing true. So my journey has been to bring forward really open vision.
I guess maybe it depends as well. That question I just asked you there about, you know, those who've kind of suppressed their gift, that's what kind of what I was asking.
Yeah.
You know, where they are in their life, maybe they are at a point where they have to suppress it right now because they've got other things that they need to see through first.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't even address that, but yeah, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that. I don't believe it, especially in our time. In our time, there's so much support. There's so much spiritual support. If you don't ground it, you can't have it. You know, so in other words, you know, what if somebody told you, you really shouldn't be doing this show? You know, what would you say? I mean,
I'd get that because, you know, financially,
well,
it's not been, you know, what I'd like it to be. That's not to say I can't change that, and I am looking to change that. I'd be like, no, I get that.
yeah, so it's frequency, and it's frequency matters, and frequency equals currency, and currency is not money necessarily. It's a matter of self-worth. It's a matter of your own understanding of your connection to the divine and the divine in Mother Earth. Matter is sacred, and that's why everything is falling apart right now in the world because there's a lot of energy hitting.
I think though that we, you know, it does matter to me though, the financial stuff.
Oh, it does matter to me. Of course, it matters. I wasn't at all saying that. What I'm saying is that people can make the transition to doing what they want to do, that is from the deepest part of their soul, and receive the support that they need to. I hope you. I want to make sure that that's clear. I'm not saying.
I think what you're saying there is that, you know, you can do what you love, and you know,
Yeah.
it will generate what you want.
You have to be willing to free fall. You have to be willing to listen to the divine within. You have to be able to, in small increments, even go through the discomfort of the dark nights of the what should I do? Should I do this or should, it's all mind. It's all mind. So you really, all we're doing in this ascension process is untangling the mind and the mind of what we have created. It's a personal journey for everybody. So there's no like one short answer, like no way, like I could say, say to some, that's why people come to me for readings. It's like, okay, I had so many, it's like, and then what happens is if somebody who, on the other end, if somebody who's doing the witnessing, basically is what a reading is for me, and speaking to you on behalf of your own higher self and your own desires, then, well, first of all, energy comes through me for them. It's very gentle. It's not like, you're going to, fall over, but it lifts you out of that space and into a place of greater possibility. So it untangles some stuff for you naturally. And then things in people's lives suddenly appear and things change miraculously, because all of life is a miracle. And then when we're open to believing, understanding that a belief is something, you just think over and over again. But if something comes in that opens you up and you just get it, which is what I like about painting, you just kind of like get it. You don't have to read a whole, I like books, I love books, but like you get that like in a different way, then your world changes. And it's all about like allowing your world to change. But and there's so many people now coming forward, and we're all such great service to one another, because we're on the front lines. You're on the front lines. You don't need some reader to tell you what to do, but you need witness to see the beauty in you, to see where you might step forward, to inspire you to step forward. If you don't listen to that voice, it's you, and you can't discern what's you. Sometimes you need a little help picking out the voice that's you. And then you're like, aha, that's a little more shiny now. We just dusted that off. And now I could take that step forward. Artists have for a long time been told they can't. And I believe it's a suppression of this faculty that we have to truly create from our divine sight. It's just so powerful. Very threatening to the powers that be. There's no, what about it?
Yeah, I guess a lot of the people that come to you for advice and whatever, whether they're purchasing a art or product or yourself as a reading, I guess we all suffer from one universal thing, which is fear. Yeah, mm-hmm. Fear of whatever it is that we are, fearing. Yeah. And some would say that's false evidence appearing real. What's your take on fear when it comes to the, with the work that you're doing?
I'm kind of fearless. I'm fearlessly creative. I'm not afraid to create. So that's a very strong piece of my being that's integrated. So when I assist people, whether it's in creating in their lives or it's in creating something that they want to see, like as an artwork or something like that, it doesn't really matter what it is. Wherever I put my attention, energy flows. So, and if my intention is clear, it usually produces some kind of result. So fear, what did you ask me? Fear is just, it's what is it? I don't really know, like it's a, you have to focus more on what is not fear. It is that I focus on what is beauty to me. What is beauty? What is good tasting food? What tastes good to me? What feels good to wear? And these are not trite, small things, these can be very deep. And so fear is so complex. We must really just focus on what is not fear, and that really helps a lot. I'm not saying to be irresponsible or be an idiot about things. It's more that I'm a really strong voice for creative freedom and knowing what that really means. I can tell when somebody's looking at my artwork and at what level they're seeing it. I can tell when people can't see it. And fear, when they can't see it, they can't see anything that is part of the thing that I'm doing. And so they, can see other things, and that's totally fine. But I just get a little annoyed at the world. I'm not annoyed at people. It's just that we really worship fear. I mean, really, that's insanity. That's insanity. So imagine if you wanted to create in a certain way. You just have to take baby steps. And then when you can take a leap, you take a leap. And then you revel in the, I'll call it beauty of whatever it is you've created, and enjoy it. And that makes ripples and energy in the world that helps other people get on board. That's why, when I'm working and when you're working and you're just moving through whatever blocked you from doing what it is you truly love, those things dissolve. They dissolve not just for you, they dissolve for other people, because we live in a holographic, we live in this amazing complex. It's there's a divine matrix, and when we really follow what's in our heart, we're really more in sync with that higher matrix, and we can create from there. I hope that makes sense, rather than
Yes, it does. Thank you for sharing that. So I think at this point, we have covered quite a bit, and I know that I think it's, what people should do as well is just take some time just to look at the gallery on your website, because there are some awesome, beautiful images on there that you've done over time, and it's quite remarkable, actually, some of the artwork that you have done. So I just want to thank you for coming on, and if I could just get your website just one last time.
Sure, and thank you for having me on. My website is www.lesliemontana.com. It's LeslieMontana, Leslie Montana, and thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. And I just want to ask you one final thing. If there was one important message that you'd like to leave us with, what do you think that might be?
Focus on the beauty and know that it's you.